Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. My name is AJ, and today's video I'm going to be mainly talking about Liz Truss. Every time this woman opens her mouth, she causes an international incident. I can't believe this woman could be our next Prime Minister after Boris Johnson. So I'm going to be talking about her. I'm also going to be talking about USA and how its GDP growth is going backwards. The economy has contracted. USA is heading towards a major recession. Also going to be talking about UK's GDP growth as well. And I'm going to finish off with a bit of Poland. So before I start, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Any help would be appreciated. And if you really want to support my channel and support me as a person, you're welcome to join my Patreon. In there I'm going to have exclusive content and also uncut videos that's not allowed on YouTube as well. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. So what can we say about Liz Truss? Liz Truss became famous for having an affair on her husband with some Tory backbencher. And you can see the fling with then Tory MP Mark Field is thought to have lasted around 18 months and almost derailed the 34-year-old's climb to becoming nomination for the seat. So I got to tell you this, how can anybody trust a woman who cheats on her husband, cheats on her kids, has an affair for 18 months, and how does anyone expect to trust her to be a leader? If she can cheat on her husband and lie to her husband, she can do the same to us. She can cheat on the public, lie to the public, and she wouldn't feel guilty at all, not one bit. Okay, so, she's had an affair, etc. So what about her job? How good is she at her job? Well, this article will tell you the failures of Liz Truss. And I actually made a video about her not far away. If you look at my history on my channel, you can see an old video about Liz Truss. I talk about her, all of her failures in her career. And this is exactly right. Every single job and every single position that this woman has been in has been an absolute failure. Every single position. And now, somehow, this woman is looking to be the next Prime Minister after Boris Johnson. I mean, Rishi Sunak has completely blew it. He has completely blew it with his taxation and with his wife being a billionaire. And this guy is completely out of touch. This guy is making swimming pools in his backyard with £13,000 of gas bills per month to heat up that electricity bills. That guy does not even have a clue how the rest of the UK population are living. He's in his own bubble, he's in his own world, and he's like taxing the rest of us for every penny we have got, while his wife is getting away with it scot-free. This is why a lot of people are talking about Liz Truss being the next leader. I mean, seriously, over my dead body, this woman would destroy UK. If you thought Boris Johnson was bad, this woman is going to be even worse. So what has she done lately? I mean, everything she talks about, she causes an international incident somewhere along the world. She said that she would support British people going to Ukraine and killing themselves. And things like that. I mean, really, really ridiculous. So the latest thing that she's saying is NATO should protect Taiwan too. So she's basically doesn't think that Russia is a big enough enemy. She doesn't think that she has enough in her plate dealing with Ukraine, dealing with Russia. Now she has to threaten China too. And she's talking about Taiwan and, it's completely China's red line. And she's saying that NATO should expand, should arm Taiwan. I mean, check this out. I mean, NATO must have a global outlook, ready to tackle global threats. She's obviously talking about China. Truss is in a speech in UK's foreign policy on Wednesday night. We need to preempt threats in the Indo-Pacific, working with our allies like Japan and Australia to ensure Pacific is protected. And we must ensure democracies like Taiwan are able to defend themselves. So basically she's saying she wants a global NATO and they need to arm Taiwan like he's armed Ukraine. I mean, can you believe this shit? What planet is this woman from? If it wasn't enough provoking a war in Ukraine with Russia, she now wants to provoke another war with China over Taiwan. What What planet is this woman from? Seriously. This is potentially our next leader. Oh my god. If this woman becomes my leader, I swear I will just leave UK. I will not stay here any longer. This is it. So just to explain exactly what she said, she started off talking, this was on April 27th, she had a speech in London, and she started talking about Russia, and she said that Russian forces must be driven out of every part of the country. She means every part of Ukraine. And she didn't explain how she's going to do that. Is she going to send British forces there? Is she going to send NATO there? Is she going to send the Americans there? The Americans and NATO have already said they're not going to be involved. And now the British, thank God she's not leading the country. But if she was, I bet you any dollar she would send the British forces there to escalate. So, absolutely ridiculous trying to start a war with Russia. I mean, Russia could destroy UK in two bombs. They can just send a couple of those Satan 2 bombs in UK and that's it. Poof, England is gone. I mean, what the hell is this woman playing out, trying to provoke Russia? An absolute superpower in the making. This woman does not know what she's talking about, seriously. Then she started picking on China. She says China's rise is not inevitable. China must play by the rules. And it was giving a laundry basket of items saying China this, China that, blah, blah, blah. And then she starts saying the NATO should involve itself in the Chinese Taiwan region. She said that NATO should be global and NATO should be arming Taiwan to defend itself like they have with Ukraine. What planet is this woman from? Seriously. Does she not see what's happening in Ukraine and what Russia has done to Ukraine? And now she wants to provoke China into attacking Taiwan. Is that her plan? And how is she going to protect Taiwan? How? Is she going to send warships all the way to the Taiwanese Strait? They're going to be sunk in an instant. Again, poof, there you go. Bye-bye. And I said this many times in my channel and I'll say it again. Britain is no longer a superpower. Britain does not rule the waves. And it's not Great Britain anymore. It's Little Britain. Absolutely Little Britain. And those who know Little Britain, is a comic show in UK that used to come out maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I can't remember. It was absolutely hilarious. It used to be called Little Britain. If you can Google it on YouTube, you'll see some great episodes on Little Britain. Anyway, I digress. So as you know, Britain obviously left Europe as part of Brexit. The economy is heavily damaged due to Brexit, heavily damaged due to COVID as well. There's huge supply chain issues. Everything is going up in terms of cost of living. The gas prices are going up. The electricity prices are going up. The petrol prices are going up. Cost of living is going up. Inflation is going up. Mortgage rates are going up. Taxes are going up. Every single thing is going up. And it's twice as expensive to live in UK than it was last year. That's how bad things are at the moment. People's bills and mortgages and cost of living, everything's going up, but the wages are not going up alongside inflation. So a lot of people are finding it hard to make ends meet. So you have all of these issues in Britain. So isn't it wise to sort out these issues first rather than going out and starting fights with Russia, starting fights with China? The whole point of doing a Brexit was because Britain wanted to be independent. Britain wanted to be a global Britain. And rather than being global Britain, they become stooges of the United States, puppets of the United States. They have alienated all the major superpowers around the world, like China, like Russia, like the Middle East, even Europe. Europe doesn't even like them. Europe doesn't even trade with them. So Britain is pretty much isolated. Their GDP growth is terrible, and the economy is doing really bad. The financial system is really bad. Companies are moving out of Britain every single week, every single month. There's hardly any manufacturing that gets done in UK. Britain is an absolute joke. So why the hell do you go out and start a fight with major superpowers when you have your own economy in shambles? I just don't get it. Absolutely don't get it. Nevertheless, she is here pushing this war in Ukraine. She is sending British people, British soldiers into Ukraine, saying, oh, it's okay to fight for Ukraine. British people are dying, Ukrainian people are dying, other people are dying across Ukraine. And this woman is sitting in a seat, enjoying her cup of tea, probably having an affair or two, and she doesn't give a crap. She doesn't give a crap about Britain. She doesn't give a crap about Ukrainians. And now she's starting to dismantle Britain's ties with Beijing. Her comments constitute the most aggressive remarks made by a British Foreign Secretary ever concerning China. And she is the first Foreign Secretary who is questioning China's rise. She says China's rise is not inevitable. And she calls for active military confrontation of the Taiwan region. The amount of times the US has actually tried to provoke a war in the region, but even the US is a bit careful not to say certain things that will provoke China. But this woman is calling for active confrontation with China. And not only is she threatening China, she's not even using Britain to threaten China. She's using NATO. Like she owns NATO, she controls NATO. She should tell NATO what to do. I mean, NATO will probably do it, but that's not the point. The fact is, she's saying these things, that NATO should do this, NATO should do that. Why can't she say Britain should do it? Because she's a little chicken. She knows Britain will be destroyed by itself. She's playing on pure nostalgia. She's probably got the song Britannia Rules the Waves in her head when she was talking about China and talking about Russia. She still thinks Britain is a superpower. You know, I don't know what this woman is playing at. Is she making these speeches so, you know, people in the Tory backbenches vote for her to be the next Prime Minister? Who knows? But I can tell you one thing. If this woman becomes Prime Minister, then God help us in UK. Seriously, God help us. So another part of her speech was the fact that she was trying to insinuate that Britain does not need China and the China needs Britain rather than Britain needing China. She was saying that China needs to follow the rules and play by the rules, otherwise it's gonna shoot down economically. So I want to also show this article here by The Independent. China's economy grows still weak, 4.8% in January to March. So I just want to kind of show you the wording that's being used, and the main wording they used is weak. So first of all, this is an independent, you know, this is one of the biggest papers in London, and I just don't understand what planet they are from as well, because to say that China's economy is still growing weak as 4.8 is beyond me. America's GDP growth has gone backwards. It's contracted by 1.4%. And Britain's growth over the last month was 0.1%. So can you tell me, just by looking at those figures, how is China's growth weak compared to US and weak compared to UK? This woman does not know what she's talking about. Absolutely does not know what she's talking about. And these papers are even worse. These papers have got real anti-Chinese rhetoric about them, anti-Russian rhetoric. Anything to do with China, they can't be happy with. Anything to do with Russia, they can't be happy with. They've not put any good news about China in the papers over the past few years. No good news about Russia. It's all about hate, hate, hate. China this, China that, blah, 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 hate, hate, hate. And it's caused so much anti-Chinese violence around the world, in America, in UK, because of, you know, Trump's rhetoric with anti-Chinese, Britain's rhetoric about anti-Chinese. And even one of my good friends who's a Chinese has got beaten up and got put into a coma just because he's a Chinese. And apparently they went up to him, stopped blaming him for some guy's COVID, you know, some guy's family got caught COVID, and he started blaming my friend for it and beat him up. And things like that happen in UK. Things are happening like that in all over the world. And now Chinese people have got a bit of a respite, because now it's all about anti-Russian stuff. But before all of this anti-Russian hate was going on, people were hating Chinese, and before they were hating the Chinese, they were hating all of the Muslims. It's basically one thing after another, one race after another. It's absolutely, this gotta stop. This has to stop. This is the cancel culture we're living in. It has to stop. End of the day, I know more about the Chinese economy than a lot of these so-called China experts that are writing all of these ridiculous articles. And yeah, in the beginning of the year, China did say they're gonna try and raise the economy by 5.5% this year, and 4.8% is lower than the 5.5%. But you got to take everything into account. These predictions were made in the start of the year. The Ukraine war hadn't happened. Plus all of these COVID issues that China is having. Plus they got all of these issues with Evergrande and the housing bubble as well. China's having a lot of issues over the past few months. And I think probably the COVID thing is probably the worst thing that's actually affecting the economy right now. Then you have all of the supply chain issues. You got increase of oil prices, gas prices, commodities, and it's happening all over the world. No country can get a very, very good GDP growth over this year because of everything that's happening around the world. And let's compare it to America or Britain. I mean, look at America. The US economy has shrunk for the first time since 2020. And the GDP fell by 0.35% between January to March, new data shows. So you can see, America's not doing any better. Britain is not doing any better. And this is Britain's GDP growth. And you can see Britain's gross domestic GDP grew by 0.1% in February 2022, following 0.8% in January 2022. And 0.1% in February, and I can tell you for a fact that March, April is going to be even worse because the war in Ukraine has happened and lots of other issues with supply chains and increase of oil prices, commodities. March is going to be even worse, and April is going to be even worse as well. So these countries like US and UK, they can't really talk. They can't say, oh, China's economy is still weak. It's not weak. It's 4.8%. China is still on goal to be the number one economy by 2030. And if it carries on like this, it's going to happen much earlier than 2030. If US economy carries on contracting and China's economy starts growing at 4.8%, you can guarantee they will beat America by 2027, by 2028, if the growth rates carry on as they are. Otherwise, it's going to be 2030. I probably estimate it's going to be 2030 because end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen over the next 8 years or so. Anything can happen. If there's a war in the Taiwanese Strait, for example, that's going to severely impact China's GDP growth as well. So anything can happen over the next 8 years, and obviously nobody can guarantee things. But if things stay as they are, they're well within reach to be number one economy. And you can't discount Russia as well. Russia is also a superpower as well. And people that say that Russia is not a superpower, you don't know what you're saying. I mean, you just got to look at how Russia's been doing, how it's able to withstand all of the sanctions, still making billions and billions with all of its raw materials, commodities. And with that money, now Russia's going to build its own industry. Obviously they've been sanctioned by every single Western country, so they're going to start building their own industry. And if a country builds its own industry, the country will start becoming a superpower because you have all of your own industry. You don't need to import much. You basically have everything that you need. You have a huge manufacturing base. And I'm pretty sure that Russia over the next few years will start, growing, and becoming one of the top superpowers in the world. And don't forget, Russia has got a huge amount of land base. It's got a huge amount of land which is still covered by frost. And once the global warming takes effect over the next few years, and the world starts getting hotter and hotter, you will see some of the permafrost start melting, and all of that space will be available for agriculture, and mining as well. Plus, they'll probably find more oil and gas. You will see Russia becoming a huge, huge superpower. They've also got access to the Arctic Sea route. You know, Russia has a lot of potential, And along with China, along with, United States will still be a superpower, even though they might not be the number one superpower or the number one economy in the next 10 years. They are still there and thereabouts. You cannot discount America, but you will always have Russia, America, and China. Those three are going to be the main superpowers, but then closely followed by India as well. India is definitely up and coming. So things are not looking good for America. As you know, it's very, very close to having a recession. If the next quarter is just as bad as this quarter, then you can probably say that America is definitely in that recession bracket and things are not looking good. So what is Biden doing? So check this title out. We're running out of money. Biden asks Congress for $33 billion more in funds and more aid and more weapons for Ukraine. Says the cost of this fight is not cheap, but caving into aggression is going to be more costly. So basically, Biden, instead of him looking after his own economy, his own people, he's sending billions and billions of money into Ukraine, which is just going to be a big waste. It's just going to be going into a black hole. And the only people that are going to be benefiting from this are the arms companies, are the defense contractors or defense shareholders. And that's where all of the money is going to be going. And it's absolutely ridiculous how Biden is focusing all of his energy onto Ukraine. He should be looking at the midterms happening just, 6 months from now. And he should be focusing on that, focusing on his own economy, focusing on improving the lives of his own people. And instead, this guy is completely obsessed, and I use the word very lightly, obsessed. Absolutely obsessed with Putin, absolutely obsessed with Russia. This is like an ex-girlfriend who's completely obsessed with you and she doesn't leave you alone. This is exactly the way Biden is with Putin. He just doesn't want to leave him alone. He's completely obsessed with Putin and he's not even looking at his own world or his own economy, his own country, his own people. These guys are on another level. Then you got Liz Truss as well, and probably is going to be even worse than him. Who knows? Oh my God, the world really has gone crazy. Finally, I want to touch on this story. Poland continues to buy Russian natural gas from Germany via reverse flows. So basically, Poland is still buying Russian gas. They're buying it from Germany. And obviously, this is going to be even more expensive because they're not buying it directly from Russia. They're buying it from Germany. And it's going to be bad news for the rest of Europe because the rest of Europe will need to save up as much gas as they can. And each country will need to save as much gas as they can before the next winter comes along. And that's the plan. Germany's doing it. The rest of Europe's doing it. So you have Poland coming along and saying, oh, can I have a bit of that gas you bought from Russia? And Germany is like, oh no, we need to save up. We need to save up for the winter. We need to improve our reserves. And Poland's like, oh, we've just sanctioned Russian gas. We can't buy it from them anymore, so we'll have to buy it from you. And Germany's, okay, we'll sell it to you, but we'll sell it to you for 10 times more expensive because, we can't afford to give it to you because we need it ourselves. And Poland's like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. So you see, Poland is going to buy all of these stockpiles from Germany, and the stockpiles for Germany is going to go down, and the rest of Europe is going to go down. And this means the rest of Europe is going to be buying more gas from Russia. And can you see the problem here? They are being absolute hypocrites for doing this. On one corner, they said, oh, we're not going to buy Russian gas. We're not going to give in to Russian demands. We're not going to buy it in rubles. And then you have another corner secretly buying gas from Germany. And Germany does not have gas to sell to Poland. Germany needs it for its own needs. And they need to save up their reserves. They need to build up their reserves and wait for the winter. So if they do buy from Germany, Germany's not going to sell it cheap. They'll probably sell it 10 times more expensive. Germany will say, look, we need this for our reserves. We cannot give it away. Not for the price we buy it from. If you want to buy this from us, you need to pay 10 times more. And what's Germany going to do? They're going to buy more gas from Russia. So it's a never-ending cycle. And this is just going to increase the gas prices, and it's just going to lower the reserves for Europe, which means Europe will have to buy more from Russia. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, these leaders in Poland, you know, they're a bunch of idiots. I'm sorry to say, you know, a bunch of idiots. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today, guys. Apologies if I was too emotional, but seriously, the things that's going on around the world, you know, this is increasing my blood pressure. You know, all of this is just increasing my stress level. I'm trying not to care, but you see everything that's going on around you and the world. Oh, it's really, really hard to keep your emotions. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it for today. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And also don't forget, if you really like me and you want to support me, to join my Patreon or buy me a coffee. Without further ado, I'm going to leave it here for now, and I'll see you soon. Take care.